Guys, I try to never, ever skimp out on you. Ever skimp out on you. I try to never do that. I spent way too much time developing this mock draft last night. I recorded it. You'll hear it in my voice. I recorded it literally at like 2 in the morning. And then this morning, big news comes out. The Bears cut Gerald Everett. They cut DeMarcus Walker, freeing up cap space. Now, luckily, both those things were involved in this mock draft. One of them, DeMarcus Walker, was part of the trade package for Hendrickson. I never do a forward like this on a video, but it changed so much, and I just cannot redo the mock draft in time to get it to you for the weekend. So my commitment is I will make 2 new ones next week. But just replace DeMarcus Walker with Dominic Robinson. The trade value is still there. But the other problem, I used our comp picks from Ian Cunningham. What are you guys doing to me, ruining my mock drafts? If those who haven't heard, Ian Cunningham is not the new GM of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Here, according to Yardline Yoda, who is a reputable source, but I'll show you another one just in case you don't believe it. James Gladstone is being hired. Literally snatched the job from Ian Cunningham. Also, by the way, Gladstone turned down multiple GM interviews this offseason. He really wanted the Jaguars job. And then, just to reaffirm it, you got here from Tom Pelissero, who you don't get more reputable than that. The Jaguars are hiring James Gladstone as their general manager. So it's official. In here, I used to trade for Trey Hendrickson, who I really want on the Bears now. I use our 2 comp picks this year and next year, a pick swap of 10 to 17, and DeMarcus Walker, okay? It's not ruined. Just pretend instead that we use a swap from 10 to 17, next year's 3rd and next year's 4th round pick. That's the equivalent of a 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounder, which by all means is an overpay for Trey Hendrickson, according to what they say the value to trade for him is. And then we'll throw in Dominic Robinson instead of cutting Dominic Robinson. I know it doesn't make it perfect. I usually don't do forwards like this, but it ruined my mock draft, guys. It ruined it. So just take that into consideration. Everything else fills out fine, and I'm actually okay trading a couple picks from the future for Trey Hendrickson, building a team now that can cohese and go into next year just as strong. Then you can extend him, give him the $33 million a year next year as the cap goes up a little bit more. It all works out. I like it. So it doesn't ruin everything. Just keep that in mind as you watch this mock draft. I apologize. I'm putting this forward at the beginning because I just cannot with the rest. I got to get back to my normal job after breaking the news of DeMarcus Walker and Gerald Everett. I got to get back. I can't redo it before tonight. I want to get it out tonight for the weekend for you guys because that's what I committed to. Then I got to get on my player profiles, but I appreciate every one of you. So that's what I'm getting at. Apologize again. Enjoy the mock draft. Just replace those things. Put them in different spots. It can still work out. The salary cap numbers come out identical because I had both those players being gone. So again, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in as always. Let's get into it. I know I said no more trade downs, but guys, I lied. What else can I say? I really like the concept of swapping draft picks and trading back from 10 to 17 for Trey Hendrickson. I think especially as you start to see reports that Khalil Mack is going to be over $20 million a year, and some of these defensive ends we could take to fill that role, and all the needs we need to fill in free agency to be able to go after best player available in the draft. I got to do it. I got to keep trading down. I apologize. I don't know if Ryan Poles will do it, but honestly, if we fill enough needs in free agency, if we take all those SAR spots and don't overspend $24 million on one singular contract, we can do that. We can trade and then go best player available in the draft. So this has become my new favorite one, as we always do on here. We keep refining it. We keep changing it. I like this one the most. No, not every player is my very favorite player, but I like the concept of this one, and I like where this one ends up landing. As we know, the salary cap went up just a little bit more than we were anticipating. Will take me off screen for the rest of the show, but we had it right around $60 million with that 277 to 281 range and the rollover cap from the Bears. That does bring us up roughly $5 million more than what we were anticipating on this channel. So we got about $65 million in spendable salary cap. I know other places are going to tell you it's 70 plus, blah, blah, blah. We'll get into some cuts we can make on this video. But right now, as it stands, it's about $65 million in spendable salary cap. So new format for this video, I'm going to go ahead and go right into, on the same screen, all the re-signings and cuts that make sense for me. And that's going to cost us about $8 million more by the time we make these cuts and we do the re-signings over here. Matt Pryor, 1 year, $5.2 million, with the experience he has as a starter, with how he did at San Francisco, with how he did at Indy. I don't see him as a starter, but I can see him being a very valuable backup, and depth is the issue we had last year. If not for Matt Pryor, our depth would have been absolutely abysmal last year. So I'm going to bring Matt Pryor in for the exact same reason. His mark has gone up just a little bit, so we're going to do a 1 year, $5.2 million contract, which is exactly where Spotrac says he's valued. Jack Sanborn is a restricted free agent, as is Jalen Jones and Josh Blackwell. So we're going to go ahead and match their offers they get from other teams, and this is roughly where that's kind of expected to be. I think every one of them is worth it. We kind of thought Jack Sanborn could get under the radar, go for $4 million. Sounds like he might be a little bit more coveted than we thought. So 5.5 for him, Jalen Jones 2.25, Josh Blackwell 2.5. Every one of them worth those values. These three players here are all going to be exclusive right free agent players, meaning they're still young and we still have rights to them, even though they didn't fill out their rookie contracts. We have them young enough where we have an exclusive right to them. So they're all going to sign league minimum deals, $1.03 million for each one of them. And then Scott Daly, we're just going to bring back our long snapper to fill that role, have him under contract, no brainer, just get it done. Don't overthink this one and just get a long snapper that's going to make sense with the team. So 1.17. For the cuts, I'm going to go with Gerald Everett, $5.5 million saved, $1 million against the dead cap. Dominic Robinson, who just hasn't been panning out. Fresh start for the new regime, $1 million in saved money, 0 dead cap. Ryan Bates, $4 million saved, and Noah Sewell. I know he's only on 3 years of his contract, but his sophomore season last year was just too much of a slump for me to be excited about the future of Noah Sewell. We're going to go ahead and cut him and save $948,000 as well. So where does that fit into the long-term plans of the Bears? We need a guard, a center, a guard, backup tackle, backup guard, backup center, wide receiver 5. That'd be wide receiver 3. Running back, nose tackle, defensive end, tight end 2, tight end 3, linebacker. We need some help here still. Now, all things point to Ian Cunningham. In fact, that news could be released anytime. Could happen today, could happen tomorrow, could happen. It should happen before free agency, I would expect. So Ian Cunningham right here at 90. In fact, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the Jacksonville Jaguars said that they want to have that decided before the end of February. Well, we're coming up a week away from that, so they should have that decided soon. And all reports indicate Ian Cunningham is the favorite for that job. So that's where that would be, 3rd round, 99th overall. So those are the draft picks we would have going into the draft. But of course, we know we got to hit free agency first. So we're gonna attack the offensive line. We're gonna attack a lot of those starter spots so we can go best player available in the draft. Someone that I wasn't high on is Drew Dahlman, but I see the appeal with him with his run blocking grades and the schemes that we may want to run with Ben Johnson, all those consistently high run blocking grades. His continual problem has been his base and his bend at the hips. If they see his tape and they see him as a young prospect, only 26 years old, and say, we can fix that. We can fix this issue with him, his bend at his hips. We're going to go ahead and pay him 4 years, $12 million to pair up with Caleb. There's the appeal, is the youth, and bringing him in to be with Caleb for the remainder of his rookie contract. So there's the appeal there. I'm going to go ahead and pick Drew Dahlman up. I know it's not everyone's favorite pick. It's not my favorite pick necessarily either, but having someone consistent at a young age is very appealing. Next, we're going to go with Kevin Zeitler. I've repeatedly taken him in my mock drafts. You can see different valuations. Over the cap at $9 million. PFF at $6.25 million. Spotrac at $9.2 million. Everything indicates he'll probably get a roughly $9 million an average deal. What I just want to show here, and I've showed it over and over again, consistently very high graded, low pressures every year, and an Iron Man. He doesn't miss any time, so he would be the perfect offensive line presence with that experience to help some of the younger guys we bring in or draft or try to develop this team with. So I like the idea of Kevin Zeitler as a cheaper option than many of the other guards that may have injury history or may have higher contract values that would be more expensive and take away from other positions and players. I really like Kevin Zeitler a lot. It's my new favorite. Trent Brown is another aging prospect. I think it would be great to help with Darnell Wright and other players on the team. So I like this mix of veteran and youth movement. Trent Brown came off a bad injury, but he would be backing up and he'd be coming back. And same thing, very effective when playing. A little bit of injury history, but he's being signed for a backup role. So 1 year, $4 million is not going to break the bank to be able to have that experience to come in and back up. Luke Farrell is a good blocking tight end that is at the end of his rookie contract. So hasn't panned out receptions-wise, hasn't been the most reliable route runner. He's not the guy that's going to get open and that's going to feed your quarterback those plays every play. But I do like him as a blocking tight end, so I've brought him up several times, 6'5", 250 pounds. And who knows, maybe they can continue to develop him. Sometimes tight ends take some time to develop in the league. So we're going to take Luke Farrell at $2.5 million, 2 years, 2.5. Rondell Moore, I've fallen in love with the free agents that I like, guys. I'm sorry, it's hard for me to come off of this. Rondell Moore with his blazing 4.32 speed. Yes, he's smaller, 181 pounds, 5'7". But that speed is so nice in Ben Johnson's system, and I think Ben Johnson will like that speed. So I brought him up before. He did have the non-contact knee injury last year in preseason that took him out of the entire season. I don't know why any team wouldn't want to take a flyer on him for $2 million. So the Bears are going to take him for $2 million for 2 years. All right, next up, we're going to the defense. Bobby Brown III. A lot of these defensive players are starting to get out of range. Milton Williams, Khalil Mack, all these guys, Josh Sweat, they're starting to be $20 to $30 million prospects. Well, Bobby Brown is one that didn't get all the reps that everybody else did, but has extreme high upside potential, 6'4", 324 pounds. For those of you that are really stuck on Andrew Billings, this is the perfect one for you guys because he can come in still, continue to develop because he's at the end of his rookie contract, a very strong tackler. So Andrew Billings last year, tons of pressure, very weak tackling. Bobby Brown, 0 missed tackles last year and very solid at diagnosing against the run. They can rotate together and Bobby Brown can continue to work his arsenal, become a better pass rusher, and it can be a good combo with the two of them together. This is another one I haven't gotten support on, but Calais Campbell has not dropped production significantly in his old age. Yes, he's almost 39 years old. He's 38, but again, he's an ageless wonder. Last year, very productive still. I'm not saying we bring him in as a starter, but as a guy who can play at both defensive interior and defensive tackle at 3 tech and on the edge, at the 9, at the 7, at the 5, anywhere in between there, he can play it all, and he's good size, 6'8", 282 pounds. I'm absolutely saying, Calais Campbell, you want to be a part of a contender. Now, I brought those who watch this channel know I brought him up last year, and I wanted the Bears to bring him in. If we had him last year, that would have significantly helped this defensive line. Bring him in at his aged contract value, 1 year, $5 million, and yes, he can still help guys like Jervon Dexter and Zach Pickens and some of these guys that are youth if we draft someone. These aged veterans, some have some built-in value, and I'm not expending a lot of contract of cap space on them. 1 year, $5 million is not breaking the bank. So I'm taking Calais Campbell and rebuilding this team the proper way. All right, so after re-signing our own players, after free agency, here's our new cap. And up top, this is how many players that accounts for, is 44 players. Now we've got about actual salary cap, 14 million left. But look, our rookie cap pool has already been taken into consideration. So we're going to go into the draft with a slush fund of $14 million. And this is common because then teams after the draft can address the rest of the needs they have. They can continue to build the team after the draft. You're not going to have your entire roster set after the draft. You're going to fill in a couple extra spots. So we're going to go take the draft, fill in a couple extra spots, and go from there. So as we head into the draft, here's what we're lacking on our needs. You can see we picked up Bobby Brown to rotate with Andrew Billings, so that needs filled. Long snapper taken care of, our linebackers taken care of, our center and our one guard is taken care of. So we've got 5 significant needs here and then some significant backup needs as well. But we really filled out this roster well by not focusing on one huge, elaborate $24 million contract. Could we have done it? Yeah, then we'd be bootstrapped and tied really tight. I like this approach more of building through veterans that have experience, that are quality veterans, not just scrubs, quality veterans, and then building through the draft as well. I like this approach the most. And as stated, I really like this idea of Trey Hendrickson as all these contracts get more and more valuable, more expensive in free agency. Trade for him now, the proven vet who has consistently 18, 20 sacks a season. He's always one of the most dominant defensive ends in the league. We're going to expend some space by getting rid of DeMarcus Walker in this. We're doing a pick swap from 10 to 17, which is essentially a second-round pick. That's essentially what that range is. From 10 to 17 is a second-round pick. Very valuable for them, though, in the Bengals, trying to free up their own cap space. It's very valuable for them with all these players they have coming up to the end of their contracts, so they can get rid of Trey Hendrickson and his contract. Essentially what's happened with Trey Hendrickson, guys, he wanted last year a new deal. This year, he's getting paid about $18 and two-thirds million. He said, I'm not playing without an extension. Last year, he wanted an extension. He was worth it last year. Now he's saying, this is not happening. I am not going forward without an extension when the market says I'm about 28 to 30 plus $30+ million on this contract, and it's only going to keep going up. I need a new deal, or you need to trade me. So 10 to 17 is a second rounder, and then we're going to give them our 2 third rounders with a pick swap back. So we're getting their 4th rounder back, but our 2 comp picks from Ian Cunningham, and we're throwing in DeMarcus Walker as a return at only $5.2 million on the cap. That's more affordable for them, and they can go get a rookie. I think this just makes too much freaking dang sense for both teams. I like it too much. This will cost us a net value of $10.75 million, so it makes sense in multiple ways as well. With that, we bring him in. It doesn't have to expend any money this year, at least on cap space paper, but we can throw a little money at him and then throw it forward to future years. But you see all those sacks, 18, 29, 16, 14. Oh, that would be glorious on this team. So we're going to give him a 3-year, $99 million extension, $33 million annual value, and that is absolutely worth it for him. Trey Hendrickson, welcome to the Chicago Bears, and thank you for being the other defensive end across from Montez Sweat. The two of you becoming sack brothers and dominating the league for the next couple of years. And unlike other videos, guys, I'm just going to roll out my draft here. No trade downs in the actual draft. I know in earlier videos I try to show you more on the prospect and give you some more details about who those prospects are. But now we're getting closer to the draft. I think most of you know who most of these prospects are, and I'm giving you some prospect videos as we go along. I don't need to be on the screen. I was just showing that. So I'm not hiding behind the curtain. But now that we've done that, we're going to fill the rest of our needs. Tyler Booker at 117 makes too much sense in this scenario where we didn't feel the need of a left guard. Tyler Booker can be day one starter between Braxton Jones and Drew Dahlman. I'm not too worried about him. And then we've got some depth as well to be able to continue to develop other guards. But having one new starter is better than having 2 or 3 new starters that are rookies on the line. It's going to help a lot. Caleb Johnson is winning me over. I've showed tape on him. I really like Caleb Johnson a lot. If he's there at 39, we take him. Landon Jackson is that big, prototypical Dennis Allen defensive end. You don't have to start him day one, but you can bring him in to rotate. You are rotating defensive ends and defensive tackles more than any other position on your team throughout the game. So having a young, fiery rookie that has a relentless motor that doesn't have to have the pressure to start day one, I like this a lot. Elijah Arroyo, you guys saw this morning, that was my highlight video. I really like him. If the injuries are a concern, he's going to fall down here to round 3. Fits perfectly with Ben Johnson's system. Bring him in, make him the new Sam Laporta / Brock Bowers with Cole Kmet. Have him work alongside him and develop. And he's got, blazing speed, route running ability, blocking is solid. I like Elijah Arroyo as my tight end 3, but if teams get concerned over those medicals, he could fall. With that 4th rounder that we swapped and picked out of, we're going to take Luke Kandra, who's a good developmental guard. Everything about him is already at a good level. He can just have time to develop and not have to start day one. I like that. Wide receiver in 5th round, Pat Bryant from Illinois. Be a perfect wide receiver 3. Bring him in with Rondale Moore and good rotation, no pressure on him day one. That would round out our wide receiver room. I would like Pat Bryant with his good body contortion, his good catchability. I think that's a good fit for the Bears. Jackson Woodard come in at linebacker, replacing Noah Sewell, and a hard hitter. You guys are going to like Jackson Woodard if you haven't seen the highlights on him already. Then as we get into the 7th round, these are just developmental prospects. Now that we signed Drew Dahlman, we don't have to have a center that starts day one, and Drew Kendall was a solid prospect out of Boston College. So I like the idea of taking a lineman, a couple linemen here late in the draft that you can develop. I like Drew Kendall. And then Dante Trader Jr. we're bringing in for safety depth. Maybe we can have Lightning hit twice and have another Elijah Hicks on our hands. Dante Trader has some high upside, but very developmental as a safety as well. I like this draft a lot. So here's where it fits on filling out all our team needs. Now we've got all our starters, our rotational starters, all our guys right here to help us out, and then all of our backups. And this is what we were lacking last year, that depth. Imagine having Matt Pryor and Calais Campbell and Landon Jackson as a second rounder as depth, having Rondale Moore coming in with his speed but not having to depend on him, having a couple of young rookies that you can develop here on the offensive line, some solid backups that we re-sign. I mean, I just like everything about this draft. But let me know what you guys think. Maybe I'm homering too much for my own concept, but I just like where this ended up and how it can help with the mix of veterans like Calais Campbell, Matt Pryor, Trent Brown, Bobby Brown, youth right at the end of his rookie contract, but can still develop with Andrew Billings, Kevin Zeitler, Drew Dahlman, same range, end of his rookie contract, but still good development, but high upside. Jack Sanborn, and all the rookies that we bring in between as well. I really like, and then Trey Hendrickson, obviously. Trading for Trey Hendrickson is a huge part of this concept as well. Well, let's look at the salary cap implications and how that would work. All right, we'll take you through an actual hypothetical, what this looks like on the actual salary cap, how it all panned out. And you can see we're not counting the ones that would be on the practice squad. We're only counting the ones that would fill the 53-man roster. So as you see this, it's only counting those two for those who understand Excel. But either way, you can just see at the bottom line here. These will be highlighted by yellow if they're the practice squad guys. We like them on the team, but they're not going to count towards the 53. Green will be our draft picks. Orange-ish will be our free agents or trade people. And then blue will be the ones that we retained on the roster as well. So here at the quarterbacks, you got Caleb Williams, Tyson Bagent, Austin Reed. I really like that. DeAndre Swift, Caleb Johnson, Roshan Johnson, and Ian Wheeler. I like this backfield a lot. I'm liking this team. I really like this concept right here that we're pulling together. Wide receivers, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, Pat Bryant, Rondale Moore, Tyler Scott. Moving to tight ends, you got Cole Kmet, Elijah Arroyo, and Luke Farrell. Offensive line, you got Braxton Jones, Darnell Wright, Drew Dahlman at center, Tyler Booker, left guard, Kevin Zeitler, right guard. And then in backups, you got Drew Kendall, Matt Pryor, Trent Brown, Luke Kandra, Karan Amagaji, and Bill Murray. I'm liking that. We also got Ricky Stromberg, who I didn't put on here. We can put him on the practice squad as well. On the defensive line, you got Montez Sweat, Trey Hendrickson, Jervon Dexter, and Bobby Brown, with backups of Landon Jackson, Andrew Billings, Jonathan Ford, Daniel Hardy, Austin Booker, and Calais Campbell. I like this. That's good depth, good mix of vets with youth. You got Bobby Brown with youth. You got Andrew Billings with vet. You got Calais Campbell as a vet, Montez Sweat, Trey Hendrickson. This is a solid defensive line. I like this defensive line. You're paying for it, and next year you'll be paying even more as he gets that $33 million. But it's worth it. All right, move down. You got Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Jack Sanborn, Jackson Woodard, and Swayze Bozeman as your rotating five. Swayze Bozeman and Jackson Woodard starting primarily for your special teams, but can rotate in as well. In the secondary, you got Jalen Johnson, Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker, Kyler Gordon, Tyreek Stevenson, Terrell Smith, Jonathan Owens, Elijah Hicks, Jalen Jones, Josh Blackwell, and then some special teamers. And then on the special teams, we got Cairo Santos, Torrey Taylor, Scott Daly. And you bring all that together, counts for about 271, 298, plus the practice squad guys. And you've got a buffer here of roughly 4,669, 4,600,000, but plus or minus $2 million, depending on where this salary cap ends up between 277 and 281. We're falling right in range with where we need to be, exactly where the Bears need to be on that salary cap. So it ends up working out really nice for them. And I like this roster. I like this roster a lot. And then last but not least, this is how the depth chart looks, and I like the combination of contracts that are expiring as starters, not nearly as many now, and then some youth that's still developing. We still don't know what we have out of Karan Amagaji. You got Luke Kandra, Drew Kendall still developing. as well as Bill Murray that can be re-signed again next year. Ricky Stromberg, still an option as well. Who knows how that's going to turn out. You can't bank too much on these flyers that you take, but then you got the contracts that will expire that, maybe we do re-sign Braxton Jones if he has a major year this year, but yet to be seen. Next year's draft class is really solid, and by that time, Karan Amagaji should have some good development. He's either a good swing tackle or we draft one in the first round next year. Many options there for us, but I like this starting rotation for us should be a decent startation, I think, formal start, and it's going to be solid with decent backups now, with a good backup option, in my opinion. So we move on to the running backs and quarterbacks. You just added Caleb Johnson, but you still got Ian Wheeler developing there. I like that as well. Receivers, tight ends, we got Rondell Moore, Pat Bryant that we added, Elijah Arroyo, and Luke Farrell there. Solid wide receiver and tight end room. Defensive line, I really feel like this is beefed up quite a bit. And same thing, you've only got a couple expiring contracts, and these two down here aren't really what you're banking on. They might end up on the practice squad, but you got them for for exclusive right free agents, so league minimum contracts. But, your depth here is solid depth to rotate in with Landon Jackson as a rookie, with Calais Campbell, with Bobby Brown, and then Trey Hendrickson. This is just a really solid defensive line, especially compared to last year. Going to be a lot more formidable, a lot more scary for teams to face us. Linebacker room, I do bring Swayze Bozeman up with his experience in the Super Bowl and how he played at the end of last year, and then Jackson Woodard. And that's really what you're looking out for your linebacker 3 or 4 and 5 is special teams player that can contribute and step in when they need to. We've got Jack Sanborn back and the best backup nickel in the league in Josh Blackwell. And then as we go to our secondary, nothing critical here, but you do have some depth now that might end up on the practice squad, picked in the 7th round, but good to develop. And then this squad is pretty solid. And yes, I do put Terrell Smith. The reason everyone keeps asking that, why do I put Terrell Smith above Tyreek Stevenson? Well, because Dennis Allen has proven to play more man than he has zone, and Terrell Smith can stay hip to hip. I hope he works with Tyreek Stevenson and brings him to the next level. Tyreek Stevenson showed amazing flashes at the end of his rookie season in the second half of the year. One of the top cornerbacks in the entire league, but then struggled in his sophomore season where teams have a little bit more tape on him. I put Nick Emenwari. I didn't mean to put Nick Emenwari on here, guys. That should be Kevin Byard. Forgive me. I make a mistake on every video. Forgive me for my sins. I did not mean to. Yeah, that should be Kevin Byard. In a previous video, I just showed you guys that I could get rid of Kevin Byard if you guys wanted to. I don't think it's going to happen if we took Nick Emenwari, but pretend this is Kevin Byard still. My one mistake of the video. Dang it. But overall, my favorite mock draft so far, I keep having a favorite, right? I keep saying that. But I like this mock draft, this concept, still getting a high-valued running back, getting some high-valued specialty players like Elijah Arroyo, filling in some of those depth needs later on, but filling most of the needs through free agency and trading for Trey Hendrickson. I think this would be an absolute slam dunk. Solid roster going into the year to continue to develop, and it would give Caleb a really good opportunity to develop this year and have a good shot at taking that next step forward with the goal of making the playoffs and seeing where we can go from there. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comment, though. Another mock draft in the books and another day closer to free agency where some of this is going to get cleared up. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you haven't hit the like button by now, please do so. If you haven't subscribed, I got some good stuff coming. Please subscribe. Please, please. And until next time, da Bears and bear down.